Audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
Exploring faith and the future. Neil Johnson and Bible teacher Dr. Kameel Majdali.
We're talking about finances, personal finances. We've talked about governmental finances. Let's talk today, Kameel, about the bank, because in most people's minds, the bank is a benign institution that's there to be our friend. But it's not always the case because, in fact, the bank is selling something. They're selling debt.
That's an interesting perception, Neil, because I thought in Australia most people had a very negative opinion about the greedy banks making profits and, multi-million-dollar salaries for bank presidents. At least that's how the media conveys it. But also the media has an interesting way of, when petrol prices go up by 5 cents, they'll interview almost hysterical people on the street. They'll say, "I'll never go out to eat again. I can't afford it." So I don't know. I was if they have a notion of it being a benign institution, the banks are doing pretty well. But let's again let's put it balanced perspective here. Banks are part of our economic system. They do serve an important purpose. And when they're handled in the right way, everyone can benefit. But we have to understand the nature of the beast. The banks, of course, are there to make money. That's what they're there for. And the bank manager is not your personal friend. He can be a strategic partner, helping you to achieve your goals, whether it's home ownership or starting up a business. But no, he's not your bosom buddy that you're going to go to the football with. He is somebody there to make money, and if you can find common cause, then you will have to work together. There is a couple ways to look at the bank. One is, of course, that we save our money in the bank. The second, of course, we use the bank for debt, whether it's credit card debt or whether it's to borrow money for one of our purposes. But we all need to deal with the bank, and therefore let's understand who they are, what they're about, and how to best handle them.
Is there a Christian attitude that we can have towards the bank as part of our overall attitude to finances?
Well, I quoted the book of Proverbs a few segments ago, that the borrower is servant to the lender. And therefore, when you see it that way, it can sound a bit menacing, but that basically the bank becomes our master as long as we hold a debt to the bank. Now, banks usually are not horrible taskmasters in that they don't hassle you. They are making lots of money on the interest that you're paying, be it for the mortgage or being for the credit card, but they're not a hard taskmaster as long as you're making the payments. Once you stop making the payments, then it's a different story. Now, I've never been in that situation, so I don't know how nasty they can become or difficult. I would suspect, though, in an economic downturn with so many people defaulting, for example, the global financial crisis, GFC, that started in 2007, 2008, in America, there were so many people defaulting, they couldn't even keep up with it. I'm even personally aware of one man, he hadn't made a mortgage payment in years, and he's basically holding his breath to see when the bank was going to come in and take the home away. He didn't make the mortgage payments because he himself was struggling terribly. I came and saw this guy a year later, and he wasn't expelled from his home, but somehow the U.S. administration came up with a deal to restructure people's mortgages so they could stay in their home. How that all happens, I don't know, but in the short term, that's a wonderful thing. But nevertheless, the banks have a job to do. They will loan the money, but it needs to be repaid, Neil. And let's put it this way. I believe as Christians, we better get in our heads here and now. If you owe a debt, you need to pay it. To promise to pay a debt and not pay it is dishonorable, and I don't believe God blesses it. So let's never think we got this debt, but somehow I'm going to get out of it. No, let's be adult and mature. We're going to pay our debts, or we're going to believe God for a miracle to clear that debt away.
Faith and the Future with Neil Johnson and Dr. Kameel Majdali from Teach All Nations. Find articles, videos and podcasts from Dr. Kameel plus today's and other episodes of Faith in the Future in the Vision app or at vision.org.au.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.